The Chicago Bears believe they have another huge steal, and I want to take some time talking about how a huge need was filled with the signing of an underrated Keith Randolph Jr. And it's more than just who the player is. It's how there's an aggressiveness by this front office to go get their guy instead of just being passive, hoping things fall into their laps. And the Bears brought in a key undrafted free agent in Randolph at 6'5", 296 pounds from Illinois, 33-inch arm length, 81-inch wingspan. It kind of sounds like an NBA wingspan. The guy is huge. I mean, great size, great length. It also speaks volumes of this scouting department. Randolph should have been drafted. He came into the 2023 season. He was looked at as a borderline top 10 defensive lineman, and he had a 2022 season that really measured up to that ranking that had him racking up 13 tackles for a loss and 4.5 sacks in 2022, en route to earning third team All Big Ten honors. This was right behind Newton, and we'll talk more about him later. This is a profile on, I believe it's the draftnetwork.com. Sorry. But on top of that, there's a Bears connection, not only geographically, but he was also a recruit of our very own Lovie Smith during his time there. Thank you, Lovie. He did have a down last season in college. That was for multiple reasons. He also fell victim to something that happens sometimes, and that's a high-profile player like Jerzon Newton. He took all the headlines. He got drafted early. I believe Randolph is a hidden gem just waiting in his shadows. And the Bears, they were smart to grab him. This was an example of clearly identifying a player and then moving aggressively. So to get to it, I want to talk about how this front office has changed the narrative when it comes to how just, I guess, business is done at Hallis Hall. Gone are the days, right, of the past when the Bears would have been undisciplined, spending money on the wrong players, but more so, the reputation for also being cheap, being outbid for key players, not being aggressive to get the talent that is needed. This narrative has changed and it needs to be recognized. And if you watched yesterday, I went through the lead up to drafting Rome Odunze and the willingness the Bears had to give up extra draft capital to get their guy. I'm thankful it wasn't needed, but still, Justin Mello from the Draft Network, he spelled out what happened with nabbing Randolph. I'm going to close this down. I'm going to get to what Justin Mello had to say. Former Illinois defensive tackle Keith Randolph Jr. was general manager Ryan Pohl's biggest signing in the undrafted free agent market. Expect Randolph Jr. to join a young core of interior defensive linemen on the 53-man roster. The Bears signed Randolph Jr. to a 3-year standard agreement that contained, and this is big money actually, $220,000 in total guaranteed money, according to Spot Track. That made him one of the highest paid undrafted free agents in the entire NFL. And the Bears showed consistent interest in Randolph Jr. throughout the entire draft process. They first met him at this year's Senior Bowl, where he impressed through a productive week of practice and interviews. I mean, the Bears had a huge coaching contingent there, if you remember. They then held a follow-up virtual meeting with Randolph Jr. to reiterate their interest in their services, and he eventually kept the former Illini standout in state by making him an aggressive offer. And this is what's kind of different about this regime. This aggressiveness mixed with responsibility, it just feels different too. And they also picked up Theo Benedict. He was a huge road grader who's the best lineman to ever come out of the Canadian college system. The Bears tracked him for a long time, built a relationship with him, and then competed with 10 other teams at initial meetings and outbid at least 4 other lucrative offers from other teams. And we got our guy with him too. I mean, we're not talking about 2 ready-made Pro Bowlers here, but these were competitions that were previously lost by the Chicago Bears. And Randolph was so necessary because this line is in need of depth coming into this year. With defense as the focus of the previous year's draft, offense was served with 2 of the 3 picks the Bears found themselves having coming into the draft, right? No defensive tackle was taken. Although there was a definite need with Justin Jones leaving in free agency, we can talk about him a little bit. This is a guy that led all Bears defensive tackles in sacks with 4.5. But this Chicago Bears team, it's different than those in the past. That's a dude the old Bears would have given big money to. Instead, they let Arizona give him 30 million. I'm good with that. It's simply not good enough for that level of investment. And this is a whole new regime. And I think also this shows that GM Ryan Poles and company, they believe in Gervon Dexter as the new 3 tech on this line. And they'll also rely on fellow sophomore Zach Pickens to develop. They're going to get every single opportunity. But the fact that the performance of Jones, that wasn't good enough, you're going to have to earn your snaps on this team now. And Billings is on this team as a starting nose opposite Dexter. And now for virtually free, the Bears brought in an absolute beast with Randolph. He had 159 tackles, 23 for a loss in his career, 10 sacks, 6 pass breakups over 5 years with the Fighting Illini. And this is a player who's well balanced versus the run or the pass. Just has an impressive power base, elite power for the position. He's there to kind of be an immovable object. He's a lunch pail guy. He shows up and he does everything well. He's just there to be a breather for the starters to start out. Also, he can not disrupt. He can disrupt plays in his own right. And I believe by midseason, he'll be giving the Bears meaningful reps. He's going to be a huge blessing for the depth that he's going to provide here. And Randolph told reporters on, I believe it was in May. Yeah, it was May 11th. He told reporters that he appreciated the organization's investment in him. It means a lot. It made me feel wanted. This is straight from Randolph. For them to come get me and give me a good amount of guaranteed money, it's a blessing, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity. So we're looking at this here. The top 3 at defensive tackle, I think they're set. We've got Billings at the nose, Gervon Dexter coming in at the 3-tech position, Zach Pickens kind of being a tweener between the two, but Randolph, I think he's absolutely going to grab this number 4 spot for almost free. And Bears coach Matt Eberflus, he said movement and skill, those are the 2 most important traits he's focused on seeing from undrafted players during camp this year. And Keith Randolph, he started looking really good in these OTAs. And this is what Eberflus had to say. You need to have a certain skill set to be able to play up here. You need to have that to get your foot in the door. Then it's about development, about work habits, about being able to play smart, play the right way. And we're also looking at he's lining up against the number 1 overall pick, quarterback Caleb Williams. Randolph had this to say, that it's been a surreal experience. While he said he's blessed to be out on the practice field, his focus still remains on competing hard on every rep. I can get better. This is from him. That's really what I'm focusing on, just trying to improve each and every day. He seems to have high character, and his big guaranteed money plus the perfect fit for what's needed. That makes him a lock for the 53-man roster at a bargain basement price in comparison to the alternative, right? I would also like to look for a few other guys to potentially make this roster as UDFAs. The aforementioned Theo Benedict, quarterback Austin Reed, returner Ian Wheeler. These are some exciting players. We've also got Chroma coming in at defensive end. That's gonna show some flashes in camp. It's gonna be hard keeping him off the roster as well. And these guys making the team doesn't mean it's a team bereft of talent like previous years. It actually just shows the creativity, the confidence of this scouting department to not just fill all the team needs by throwing money at free agents, reaching on draft picks. This is an elite scouting department. I believe that will be proven correct, that assessment. And I actually like that we didn't make huge moves at defensive end, at defensive tackle, and free agency. We're still coming into next year as it lays right now as being the number, how many is 6? I don't know. The number 6 team in cap space. That's just a fantastic prospect. I can't believe after all this maneuvering and all of this stuff that Chicago has done that we're still within the top 10 in cap space coming into next year. That just shows the brilliance of our GM. And I think we're in a good situation here. We've got 2 sophomore defensive tackles that are developing. Gervon Dexter is developing at a very rapid pace. I think we have our 3-tech. We've got Billings playing admirably at the nose. We've got Zach Pickens with a chance to develop under elite coaching under Coach Eric Washington. And can you imagine if Booker actually develops by halfway through the season and he becomes our starter on the right end? We've got some depth concerns still, but that's being shored up a bit with players like not Zach Randolph, that's a basketball player, but Keith Randolph Jr. And I don't think we're in as bad of a position as a lot of outlets are showing. Our offensive line is coming in as actually rated a solid unit coming into the year. That's going to be greatly improved. I think this is going to be a fun year. And I think our defense, with the level of secondary that we have, it's the best in the league. I think with the secondary that we have, we can afford to be a little patient, a little conservative on spending money on the defensive line, and trust the process that these players that we have brought in are going to be the next tier of elite players. And I think we're just in really good shape and on a good path. You guys, let me know what you think. Bear down. It's been a heck of an off season. I can't wait for more. Camp is right around the corner in 40 some days, and I can't wait. See you later.